this was the next journey, mate. It was going through the process of what's the worst that can happen, because there's fear. So, and that's the thing, there was fear about.
Welcome to Ultra Habits. Here, we go under the hood with our guests to unpack the minutiae and to understand what processes and systems they engage or research that result in ultra-enhanced living.
Hey guys, it's RJ Singh here from Ultra Habits, and I want to talk about our next guest, Mark Kluwer. What a man he is, the quintessential dynamic Australian bloke, and it was quite the pleasure to have him on. We actually tried to do this interview in person in my offices in Victoria. The technology failed 2 or 3 times and it was late. We decided to do it via Zoom, but nevertheless, it was a dynamic conversation. So I came across Mark on the back of an ABC article, all these people going up to his farm in regional Victoria to do health and wellness orientated stuff. And he has people out there building stuff. He got people in ice baths. They're doing exercise. They're doing physical activities and breathing and meditation. And so we really wanted to unpack his story. Now, Mark's journey all started when he decided to go to a Wim Hof retreat and had a massive, massive shift, and the rest was history. It's a dynamic story of a man later on in life that has connected to himself on an extremely deep level, and he's now giving it back to the community. We unpack his story. Really, really hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Let us know your feedback. There's all kinds of insights into breathing, the benefits of ice bath, and a culmination of all kinds of information that we know you'll find useful. Anyways, guys, take care. Enjoy. So, Mark, it's good to catch up again. We had a great time in Melbourne, Victoria, where we ate Guzmani Gomez and sat up in my office all night to an ungodly hour before you had to drive 2 hours home. So I'm glad that you're joining us here on the Ultra Habits podcast. And as you know, I came across your article on the ABC News, and it talked about all these people flocking to your farm for some form of wellness and health retreat. And I was drawn to the article, and I was hoping you would tell our guests exactly what you guys are doing on the farm. What's going on out there?
What's going on? Well, I tell you what, mate, we're connecting, and this is the best part about it. The human connection. We're creating community here, connection. People come up to the country. They get their hands in Mother Earth, mate. Get the dirt under the fingernails. We breathe deeply. We do some breathing, some heavy breathing. We get in the ice bath. Okay? And then we have this beautiful food and we share. And it's about sharing and let people being able to, when they're up here, to be themselves. And that's what there's a space up here is just for people in nature, because nature's our teacher, mate. We are nature. We are nature. Not that we go to nature. We don't go to a place, or we don't go to nature to visit nature. We are nature, and we are here. And that's what we do, mate. And we connect together, have a good time. There's tears, there's laughter. And there's laughter, deep laughter, all that good stuff, mate, that us humans, we need, mate. So that's what we do up here. We move, we exercise, all those modalities, mate, okay? We move, we eat good food, we breathe, we laugh, and we connect, and we're community, mate. That's what we do here, mate.
It's an interesting comment you made there that nature is not separate to us. We are part of it. And I think it's part of the human condition where we tend to see ourselves as separate, almost above. And what's happened, I think, in the course of humanity is we have looked at our environment and nature as something that we need to conquer versus work with, because we view it as separate to us.
Good point.
Right?
Yes.
So let's rewind the tape a bit. where and how did you get to this place, man? Like where and what was your journey?
Well, in 2016, this is where it all started. In 2016, I cried for 5 days, mate. And it was it wasn't that just, just a bit of tears here. I'm talking deep emotional stuff, mate, that went down, right down inside and just, and it reignited me, mate. I had the opportunity in 2016 at the last minute to go to a Wim Hof retreat in Melbourne. He was coming to Australia, right? And I was told about this fellow about a month earlier. I hadn't even heard of Wim before then. And a good mate of mine, family friend, said, look, mate, you've got to have a look at this bloke. He rang me up. He said, look at this bloke on YouTube. He's doing this crazy stuff. He's a Dutchman. And firstly, when he said crazy, great, but a Dutchman. My heritage Dutch, my father's Dutch, my uncle's Dutch, obviously, and straight away I connected with that. It was a crazy Dutchman. And then I saw what he was doing, obviously, the extreme stuff, and I was drawn to that because I've always trained hard myself, pushed myself, through life, with just seeing how we go with what our bodies can do, and then so I was really drawn to that. But that's not what I needed, mate. It was the other side that I gained from this. So in 2016, I go down to this retreat. There's 60 other people. And I remember on the first day, we start breathing. And see, I was struggling at that stage. I was training hard. People said, oh, Mark, and working hard. And see, I didn't know how to meditate, mate. It was like, when people say this is what you do meditation, I was too in the head, mate. I was too in the head. I wasn't connected enough to hear, to the heart. And so when we started this breathing, all these feelings came up. Time became irrelevant. And I just started to breathe, mate, and feel, and then it started to work, and I had this emotion stuff coming up. I thought, what the fuck's this? What's this breathing's doing this? I've got to push this down, because that's what mass men have done for years, mate. They've pushed it down deep, mate, because they think that, masculinity is about stoicness, mate, and not showing your feelings in public, because see, I grew up in the outer suburbs of Melbourne, played footy at the local footy club and cricket and basketball, and then I played in the AFL, as an under-19 player, and so I'm around this culture, that's not conducive to men, showing that they're conducive to men. Stoic, don't show your feelings. What are you, weak bastard, Mark? All this kind of stuff, and then I worked as an apprentice in Melbourne, and I remember the first day on building site. I was an 18-year-old, and I had 80 plumbers, and during that day they'd come up and say, "We're going to initiate, mate. Watch out, all this kind of shit. This is not the true rite of passage on how you treat young people." But here I am. So I've got this shield around me, mate. This shield, strong. This is what it's got to be like. You don't show your feelings. There's only one feeling you show. And so here I come, all through my life, and I've always loved my kids, but I don't think, emotions still, they're holding back. And then I get to this retreat, mate, see? And it just lets go, and it purged. It was so deep, man. And in the end, in that first round, I just let it go. And the tears came up, and I thought, well, fuck, I'm just going to let this go, mate. And it was just like this cascade of emotions came up. For 5 days, it was deep, mate. And I thought I dealt with stuff from the past, but no, I hadn't. All I'd done is buried it deep down in the filing, coming down, deep down inside. And then it just went, and it just ripped through me. It ripped through me, mate. To show your emotions in public is a sign of courage. It's a sign of strength, not weakness, mate. when you're vulnerable, and this is what I learned, because I remember after the first day, after the breathing session, I thought, fuck, what are my mates, because I had a couple of mates that went there. Most of the 60 people were there. I didn't know. I thought, oh, what are they going to think? They embrace you, mate. People embrace you. When you're vulnerable, this is when we're truly at our best humans. We are truly at our best, mate. And that's when people get around you. They know, and it's about being authentic and being real. And people, they feel it. They all feel the energy when you're authentic and real. And that also then gives them the opening that they can be like that. You know what I mean? So this was so beautiful for me. And, and I remember that 5 days, and every day, and on the 5th day, they were saying, oh, fuck you, Mark's crying again, but it was kind of like, but we're all embracing it. It was beautiful, and I'll tell you what, I got home and sat at the kitchen table, and my wife was home there, and I'm sitting there, and I'll tell you what it was like, mate. Now, I know you've been to the Melbourne. There's an art, the Melbourne Art Museum, or the gallery, Melbourne Art Gallery. It's on St Kilda Road, mate. There's a glass wall there, and it's got water just running down it. It's a waterfall. That's what my face was like, man. You know what I mean? Just tears bloody coming, filling my face. And she rang up my brother and said, something's happened to Mark. Something's happened. And my brother said, who was my building partner at the time, said, look, he'll be okay. I've been to these things a couple of weeks, few days, he'll be okay, be fine. Mate, I'm okay. I'm right now. So from that 2016 opened the doors. There was an opening for me. Life had presented something for me because I was really nervous and I kept pushing back. I wanted to go to see Wim. That was really important. But for some reason deep inside, I knew there was going to be a shift, and I went with it. The door opened in my life. I needed that door, and this time I leant in and looked at it. I didn't shut it, leave it for another time, because I didn't know what was going on there. I knew that I had to do this. It was inside. And as I said, 2016 changed my life, mate.
Mark, were you at a rock bottom when you went there, or did you realize you were fucked after you went there and you were holding back all this stuff? And was your rock bottom, if you had one when you went there, was it physical, emotional, or psychological, or all of the above?
Well, look, for me, I've always looked after myself, tried to train, and so physically I felt good.
Okay.
But I just think for me, I was searching for something, mate. I felt uninspired. I had a building company for 20 years with my brother, and I just, it's a family business. I just struggled for motivation, really. And I was because I think what happens when the best days of the week are Saturday, Sunday, and Friday night, you got problems, man. You know what I mean? And that's, for me, that's what I was doing. Sunday afternoon, I've got to go back to work on Monday, and there was no, I wasn't inspired anymore, mate. I was just ticking the boxes. And then I realized that my purpose, and there was so much clarity here when I went away for these 5 days, is that midway through the session, I said to a mate of mine, I want to open a retreat space in nature to provide a space where people can find clarity in nature, right? And that was at that point, that stuck with me. That time, it stuck with me. And so then I started to think, well, I don't want to be like when I retire, because I never intended to retire anyway. But the thing is, we retire because society places pressure on us, especially in the Western society. You're at a particular age, you have to retire. That's bullshit, man. Okay, I can tell you, right? Purpose. And for me, it was about the purpose. And I couldn't see myself, doing plumbing and building for the rest of my life, because we get to an age, and especially my generation, usually when you've got a qualification, like in the building trade, plumber, builder, carpenter, whatever, that kind of defines you, and you do that your whole life. You don't seem to change and do anything else. And for me, I was ready because I felt this calling, mate. It was this calling that I needed to do this, right? So I didn't hit rock bottom, no, but I was living uninspired, just going through the motions, mate. You know, and this just went fucking whack. And here I am, mate.
Right. And we talked a bit about this toxic masculinity that you mentioned. And we had a conversation offline, which I think it's really important to bring online for the audience, just about toxic masculinity, especially on the job site and in the trades. How do you think that impacts our young men?
Oh, big time. And but let me say this, RJ. Let's call it toxic human behavior instead of putting a, like toxic masculinity or toxic femininity or whatever it is. Let's call it toxic human behavior, mate. I reckon. And the thing is, it does make a big difference, because if you've got fellows that feel like they're trapped. And I'm talking about older, like my age, even older, and they feel like they're trapped and they're unhappy with life. And they're not all like this. There's plenty of tradesmen I work with that love their job now, still now. That's what it's about. Do you love it, mate? Do you love what you're doing? And I think that's what happens. So then they're teaching some of the younger fellas, and all they're doing, the young fellas or young people are then taking on the shit that they're getting taught. That's what it is, And see what happens is that, and I feel that my purpose in all this is, and it is like a building analogy. When blokes get to my age, they've built this brick wall around them, and it's bricks and cement, right? And the thing is, it's gone hard, mate. So they need a jackhammer to get it out. And I used I had a jackhammer that 5 days in 2016, and I just bang, 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 and it was gone. But what we can do to these younger fellas is get it while they're starting to build these walls, and while the cement's still wet, that we can just, tap them over, kick them over, and get them to feeling that, mate. Because, as I said, this is what we need to do. We need to show them that it's okay. We need to show them it's okay. Let's have a talk. It's not a sign of weakness if you're struggling with issues. Don't go and suppress it by having a few beers and because that's another thing. This thing about a sign of like a true man is how many cans you can drink at the pub, mate, or one night. But this culture, it's just it concerns me, because it stunts the growth, mate. It stunts growth and connection, mate.
So 2016, you come home, 5 days, you're in this vortex of emotion. When the cloud starts to lift, what did the path look like for you? I know you got into Buddhism. I know that you got into developing a relationship with Wim. What and where did your path take you immediately after that?
Well, I kept. It was interesting because there was a fear based around the whole thing. See, because what I needed to do was I needed to sell our family home of 20 that we built of 25 years. With my wife and our kids had grown up. My two daughters, who are now adult girls, had grown up there, and so this was the next journey, mate. It was going through the process of what's the worst that can happen, because there's fear. So, and that's the thing, there was fear about making the wrong decision, and I had to work through that. And I remember I used to every Thursday night we had an informal men's group. We used to catch up with great young fellas, and I was actually the eldest there, and it was great. The stuff I learned off the young blokes, mate, and they kept saying, "Mark, what's the worst that can happen, mate?" Because me being at 55, of course, that was in my head. Obviously, I've got to make the right decision here, you know. And I worked through it. I thought, fuck this. We have to sell the house to make this move. To make this move, we've got to sell the house, you know. And so I just kept, you know, I was doing the breathing techniques, and you know, in the morning, starting the day, still training. But it was just working through that mental side to get out of here and more coming from here, be more intuitive. Have, you know, what's the word called when everything's in line? It'll come through to me. It's all in line. What's the word when it all lines up, mate? Coherence. Coherence. I wanted the you know, and I just worked on that. But then what I was doing, I went and saw Joe Dispenza, had a weekend with Joe Dispenza, and I was, but see what was strong here, man? I was, one of the big journeys here, I was visualizing what was happening. So in 2016, you know, I came back, and when I was doing my breathing by myself in the morning or at nighttime, meditating night, you know, I would be visualizing what's happening. I'd get this excitement about it. RJ, you know what I mean? And then finally we sold the house, and then there were the steps there, you know, and then to move up here. But it was about visualization of what I wanted this to look like. And there are days when, you know, you get challenged big time, mate, you know, but I tell you, when you're in flow, and I don't know if I've answered your question properly here, but I remember deep in COVID last year when we've been up here, and no, there's no one coming, obviously. We were lucky being out of Melbourne. And I remember think you know, and that comes into my mind, I've done the wrong thing, you know, like about this, no one's here, what have we done? But then when I'd come back to that knowing and deep inside that the people that I've met and the people I've connected with and the flow into my life since then, it's been unbelievable, mate. It's just been everyone I've met and this flow that's been happening through this whole process. I come back to that. I'm doing the right thing. I've got to back myself here. And that's what it's been about, mate. It's just been about backing yourself and having such a supportive partner, my wife, Julie, who you know.
We talked about this before as well. Like when you're making decisions like this, sometimes people will project their fears onto you, and it's really important to have a strong grip on your true north and your direction and where and what you're trying to achieve when there's a lot of noise coming at you with different opinions and people's own shit, right, that's surfacing. So you have got this farm, and the intention always was to bring people there. What's the aspiration for the farm in terms of what you want to do there? What's your utopia look like, Mark?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good question. Well, when we call it a farm, I don't have at this stage. The only pet I've got here is my dog and all these wild kangaroos and wombats and echidnas. So, you know, in relation to being a farm, it's not like, you know, it's not, I can't see it being, we're raising cattle, beef, but what we want to have is like chickens. I would love a donkey. I'd love a donkey, mate. I bloody love donkeys, man.
An ass.
Yeah, yeah. I love them, mate. Bloody donkeys, mate. I love it when they go ee-aw, and it sounds like a rusty gate, man. Like it's bloody beautiful. I love them. Yeah. Fucking donkeys, mate. Okay. But basically, the utopia is that we are here, which we are living off grid, totally off grid here. Okay, we'll be, you know, feeding ourselves. We've got the vegetable gardens. We'll be feeding ourselves. There'll be some chickens giving us some eggs, and the utopia looks like that people, when they're here, strength, happiness, and health. Borrow Wim's line. That's what we want. I want people here to come here, connect. We have a wood-fired hot tub that we've got here that especially in the cooler months, it's beautiful. in this open in the stars. We've got I'm building a sweat lodge at the moment out of stone that I've collected from the property. It's just about people coming here, and when you walk through the gate, there's peace. There's peace and happiness, mate. And there's going to be sweat. There's going to be sweat. There's going to be tears, laughter, all those things rolled into one. There's going to be, just good fireside discussion, mate. Fireside discussion, and probably, and I'll tell you what, when you ask me that, that's one thing I need to, and this is one thing for me that I'm still grappling with, is that, see, all my life, my working life, I've been on the finite path. I sign a contract with the client and I've got to finish at this date. Whether it's 6 months, 2 years, 1 year, whatever. This is an infinite path, brother, right? And the thing is, I've got these visions, and if I look, because I thought that before I open this, I've got to have everything finished. But it's not about that. It's about the journey, mate. It's about the journey. So it may change, but at the moment, what's happening at the moment as people come through the door, and when we have our circles where we finish the day, and after the breathing sessions, and when we're sharing, this is a utopia, brother, right now. And so this is one thing I'm grappling with, is that I'm on the infinite journey here, and it's going to keep evolving. It's going to keep evolving. You never know. We may have pigs. We may have cattle. But I know one thing. I'm getting 2 donkeys, mate. Eon. Okay? He always says that, mate. That's why they call the bloke the donkey, But so the thing is, this is what I can see, mate. And this is what is happening. And that's what I want to keep nurturing. I want to nurture this space, because true masculinity is about nurturing. That's what masculinity is about. Nurturing people, mate.
It's an interesting way that you framed it. My mentor says to me that most people, where they almost always go wrong on the spiritual path, is they bring in the same timelines and functional thinking that exists in their functional life. So spiritual life doesn't operate on timelines, right? But what we do is we tend to bring that finite, as you put it, thinking and philosophy into our spiritual lives. And effectively, the work that you're currently doing is a work of the spirit, which is infinite. And you don't have necessarily the visibility yet on how that's going to unfold, but you're trusting the process. You're trusting the path, right? And that takes courage, man. And we talked about that. My hat's off to you, man, on that one. And you talked about, when we met, there was a session that you had with some people. Now I want to know, I come up to Mark's place. What am I looking at? I park my car at the gate, I think you said we meet at a park. What are we doing?
Yep. We meet at a park, and then we drive up together up to our property, and then we then park outside the gate, and then we walk in together. Because see, what's going to happen on this session, it's a day at the moment, the sessions are from 9 o'clock in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. We're going to focus on how we're breathing the whole day, because then we're present. See, we breathe between 20 to 25,000 times a day, unconscious breathing. So when we walk through the gate, we focus on the breath all day, what it's doing. And as we walk in silence, in nature, up until we get to our shed. We've got this big old shed I've built. There's no talking, there's just feeling. And I'll tell you, you can take a gum leaf, scrunch it up, put it in your nose, or in your mouth, in your hands, and we just move nice and slowly through that, get down into the valley where our our shed is and where the facility is. And then we do some movement. So we get in, we move our bodies all together as a group. Okay. Then we get into some breathing exercises. We go deep in the breath. We close the circle then after the breathing. We share what went through our bodies, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual. And then we get in the ice bath, mate.
Let's talk about the breathing there, Mark, and before we go on, because a lot of the audience is going to be interested in your techniques, the benefits. A lot of the audience are corporates, they're executives. Myself, I get stressed a million times throughout the day. What's the thinking and the actual mechanics behind the breathing, and what's your philosophy there in regards to, I know you told me that most of us don't breathe properly. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So we really focus on the breath, and what's important is when we are breathing, that where we're breathing from, and so I'll always focus, and I love obviously with the Wim Hof breathing technique. So we work through that. I'm a former Wim Hof instructor, former Wim Hof certified instructor. I was with one of the first group of Australian certified instructors to gain that qualification. I now are using that as just something that I've learned in life as a tool. So, we unpack that. It was because Wim's he was studying the Tumo breathing technique, the breath of fire. Okay, so we worked through that, and I explained to people the benefits of what that can do to our body. Okay, and what's happening. But what's really important now, and also with Patrick McEwen, I've been studying Patrick McEwen, the oxygen advantage. So, now I find it so important now that what we're doing is that, and that's what I try to get everyone to do, is at least during the day is in through their nose and out through their mouth. Because what's really important is when we breathe through the nose, okay, we take in nitrogen oxide through the nasal tissue. We don't get it through the mouth. So this is so important, breathing through the nose, because inherently over time, we become mouth breathers. And what happens when we get stressed, if you just stop a minute and see what's happening with your breath, we're breathing shallow from the chest. Okay, and a lot of time it's through the mouth. Okay, so that's one of the first things we look at is, as I said, with Patrick McEwen, he's all about in through the nose and out through the nose, which is what I'm, when I train, and I focus on that. When we do this breath of fire technique, the Wim Hof method, it's in through the nose and out through the mouth.
I tried your in through the nose and out through the nose when I was running, and it was a cold day in Melbourne. Man, it's tough. It's not easy. You gotta get used to it.
But as I said, I'm not an instructor yet with Oxygen Advantage, but I intend to. But I'm still studying that process, and I'm doing it on myself. I take my mouth at night time, and it's the build up of the carbon dioxide is our friend here. See, this is the thing. This is the thing. So when we're breathing, we're not over oxygenating our bodies when we lay down. We do this breathing. It's not the over oxygenation of oxygen, it's the levels of carbon dioxide that are changing that makes it so profound. Because when we're breathing in, we're taking the oxygen, but what we are doing, we're expelling carbon dioxide. Okay? CO2 is a vasodilator, which is an opener. So when we're doing the breathing, the Tumo Wim Hof breathing, we're taking it in through the nose and out through the mouth. So we're expelling the carbon dioxide, okay? And we're getting into we access the autonomic nervous system. We're accessing the sympathetic response when we're doing that. But then there comes a breath hold. And in the breath hold, that's when we access the parasympathetic, the rest and digest state, and we're building up the carbon dioxide. So there's all this beautiful balancing of the physiology here. And the beauty about the carbon dioxide, which is so important for athletes, and that's why I said to you, try this, jogging, and breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Your intensity for that session, you'll know you can't, it's a build up there. You can't just go and run 10K and only breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. You've got to build this up, okay? But what it's doing, we're getting we're getting a higher tolerance over time with CO2. And CO2 is the key, mate, because what it allows the oxygen to attach to the CO2 molecule and go into the mitochondria, the energy of the cell. So ATP production, sorry, for athletes. And there's plenty of literature on this. As I said, Patrick McEwen, The Oxygen Advantage. Through COVID, I had some time on my hands, so I read that book by James Nestor, Breath. Beautiful, great book, mate. It's a great book, and he talks about all these breathing modalities, and he does them all, and I strongly recommend that. So that got me on that path and starting to learn what was really happening when we breathe and why over time now what's happened, we've become inherent mouth breathers. So what I try to focus on all the time, and if someone's doing an exercise and we're doing something here, I'd say, okay, if you can't, I want you to breathe through. I want you to always inhale through the nose, and if you have to, exhale through the mouth. But I would like to start to focus on breathing in through the nose, and when we do this breathing, like it's not a huge. It's just because that doesn't mean you get more oxygen in, mate. We want it. It's just a gentle, and as Patrick says, it's a gentle breath. 6 in. 6 out. And what it does straight away when we breathe through the nose also is we're getting nitrous oxide. We're also activating the diaphragm, which puts us into that sympathetic response, the rest and digest response.
Yeah, as an athlete, it's super interesting because what you're saying is my lactic acid threshold may increase as a result of having this better engagement with oxygen.
No. So yeah, it is. But what it is, it's becoming more tolerant of the CO2 levels. It's the CO2 levels. They're okay. And what they found in the 50s and 60s before big pharma came in, right? What happened is that they were treating patients with the anxiety and depression with CO2 and room oxygen. They mix them together and they'd give them they put the mask on, and there would be there's a build-up effect, because what happens, we have this reflex in our stomachs that activates us to breathe, and so that's what the CO2 does. But once it goes into the body, it opens everything up. So we've got asthmatics, for example, that are breathing, and they feel constriction air. It's because they're and it's a loss of carbon dioxide, mate. So it's such, we've always thought carbon dioxide is a devil. It's not, mate.
It's how it's how it relates in some form of yin and yang with oxygen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, whether we and with the when we do the breathing together, laying down on the floor here, we do over breathing. Now, I don't recommend over breathing every day. We do this because this can get, as what James Nestor said when he did his Wim Hof breathing technique. He found that what it did, it shifted the funk. Like he was in a funk. Like if you want to get out of something, it does ignite something, but it does activate your adrenaline. And that's what they've found is what's happening is that when we're doing this breathing technique, when we're accessing the sympathetic nervous system, what it's doing is downgrading the autoimmune system, and it's the adrenaline that we're building at that particular time is shutting off that overactive autoimmune system, which has led to autoimmune diseases, mate. So it's so powerful, mate. But we don't want to be doing that all the time. The most important thing I try to impart on people is when they leave is, what's your breath doing? How is it going? And see, RJ, when we get in an ice bath, this is when we're all relaxed. We've done the breathing. We feel bloody great. We can do anything. We're focused. We're relaxed. There's a calmness. which helps downgrade pain receptors to jump in the ice bath. But the thing is that once we're ready to get in the ice bath, we jump in straight away. We're bang. Our eyes are open like pineapples, mate. They're like pineapples, okay? Right? We're in the sympathetic state. So we're fight or flighting right now. So then what we need to do is focus on the breath, because we can pull it back. Because when the benefits of the ice bath happen, it's not getting in there like and fighting for 5-10 minutes or whatever, and it's hell for the whole time. No. What we want to do, we want to access the parasympathetic state as soon as possible, because that's where the benefits are. So the first minute and a half, you got to work through it, mate. Right? And if you're in the head, you're dead. Your body knows what to do. This is such a beautiful machine, mate. And you don't need to be a superhero, mate. But we get out of the head. We come into the heart space, and we go deep into the soul. And that's what happens. They're in for 3 minutes. The first minute and a half, once again, you're in that. And I told them, I say, right, we're at a minute and a half. Then all of a sudden you see people, and they start laughing and smiling. They drop their shoulder. You drop your shoulders down. So it's not like this. That's what it's like at the start. But I said, right, I want you to drop the shoulders down. Now I want you to just feel the breath. Because, see, I'll tell you what, mate. The ice bath is a yardstick for life. Okay? Life's an ice bath. If you learn how to breathe in this situation, okay, out, back at school, if you're having issues at school, as a student, bullying or work prep, whatever it is at work, when you realise that you have the power within. Because what we're here to do, and that's one of my utopias, we're bringing the power to the people, mate, because we have this power inside. We have it. We have this. We just need to tap in. We need to believe, right? We light the fire within, mate, and that's what it's about. Once you know how to stay 3 minutes in an ice bath, and this other thing, you put that, it puts it in perspective. It's a level of sun.
Mm.
And when people jump in, I have these groups. We have mixed athletes. We have women, predominantly at the moment, where we're having men and women coming up, which is great. And what I love is when I see, a mother, for example, she jumps in, she owns the space, mate. She's in there, she's in, and then because what happens where there's inflammation, the cold goes straight to the inflammation. It goes bang. It's such a healer. And if you've been overtraining, if you've been working, and I find it when I get in, like I went in last week, and I hadn't been in for a while, and there was pain through my forearms. I've been working on the land here and stuff, so I could feel it here, and in my legs, and you just got to sit with it because it's temporary. It's temporary, mate. And we're choosing to be here, mate. We're choosing this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go in on Sundays. I'm doing long runs. I have a race in Mount Buffalo in Victoria in April, and I'm doing a lot of elevation training right now. And I'm gonna take your advice. I'm gonna fill up the bathtub. I'm gonna be sitting in it. Joe DeSena, founder of Spartan, whenever he runs 100-milers, he has an ice bath at every 25 miles.
No, really?
Right? Because he reckons breaking it up in quarters, he heals himself, and he kind of enables him to run further, right? So how about the individual that's not an athlete? What would you recommend the rhythms look like, and how often they do an ice bath and when?
Oh, look, I think that if they can, and it's about building a community. So, once they have the tools, they learn the tools of how to breathe, and I would recommend once a week if you can do something, meet up, and usually 10 bags of ice to a standard bathtub, 10 to 12 bags to get that, because you want to be around 3 degrees. I think that the research is saying under 10. I think the footballers do it. I think around 10 degrees, and they just jump into it. Usually their ice bars are up to their waist, but we want to get all the organs in, mate. We're up to the neck, hands in, Hands in on the thighs up to the neck, you know? And the breathing, just the focus of the breath. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I always enjoy, we've had multiple conversations. I think that you are so good, especially not only for everyone, but you're so relevant and you are so pointed in terms of being able to focus on this whole male culture, especially here in Australia, that's evolved over time, and some of those negative qualities within the culture. And I think given your history, your no bullshit approach, you're earthy, you respect the land, you respect nature, but you've done it all. You played sport, you've worked in the trades, you've worked with your hands, you've got the credibility. I think you're in a unique position to really change the landscape in what we call just toxic behavior, particularly with men, as we talked about multiple times. My hat's off to you for having the courage to do what you've done, and your amazing wife supporting you in the process. Where can people find you, Mark, if they want to reach out to you, talk to you, come and visit you guys there in Victoria? How do they actually find you?
Thanks, RJ. Well, thank you very much, mate, for those kind words, mate. Look, as I said, I'm just on this. I'm on this journey, and let's see where it goes, mate. That's what it's about, And if people want to connect with me, my Instagram is mark.tiger.kluwer. That is KLUWER. W is for Wally. KLUWER. That's my Instagram. I just want to make sure I don't fuck this up, mate. Okay?
Yeah, all good. Yep.
Okay. My email is mark@markkluwer.com. You'll put these up though, won't you?
Yeah.
mark@markkluwer.com. And our other Instagram is elevated_springs. And that you can see what my beautiful wife Julie's creating with the food we're and the food we're preparing and cooking. And is there another point? Is there another one, Jewel? No, I think that's it. Oh, and the website is markkluwer.com. Okay.
Beautiful.
And I tell you what, as you can see, I'm pretty technology is one of my strong parts. Okay, but I guarantee that when people come here, and can I just say one thing? And I think I spoke to you last time, RJ, about this, mate. A couple of weeks ago, one of the special moments I had a couple of weeks ago, we had a group here, and there was an 18-year-old girl at the end, and we had this finishing circle, and I like to share what people got out of the day. And she sat in the chair, and she said, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself because I've done stuff today that I would have never dreamt I would have been able to do. And we all got around. It was so beautiful, mate. She's got the power. What would you pay? What's it worth for the potential for you to learn these things? Change your life, mate. What's it worth, mate? And that was powerful, mate. When she said that, there were tears. It was just strong woman. And that's what life's about, mate. Strong men and women standing side by side. We are together. We are together as one. None of this one in front of the other. We are here. And that's a culture. That's what we need to do, mate. Bring it on. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, Mark. We'll end it there, man. Beautiful to have you on the show. Thanks, Julie, for connecting us and managing the technology for us. I'm as good with technology as you, as we all know, Mark. You and I, inside joke, brother. But we won't let the world know. But anyways, man, all the best, man.
Thank you.
Take care, brother.
Thanks, man. See you, Raja.